Today is Sunday, September 22nd, 2019. I'm Lori with Behavior Education. Welcome to this edition of Super Dwarf Sundays. In the following video, you're going to see TC being very active this week and being introduced to some fun new activities for him. He had a big adventure. I'm filming this intro a little early in the day because starting tomorrow, I'm gone for the next 6 days at some training in Denver. And I actually have a foundations and snake training class that I'm doing tonight. So TC is still asleep and I'm not going to wake him up for this intro. But you're going to see lots of TC in this video, so enjoy it. Please remember to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. If you watched the previous episode, you should remember that Tau said he finished his latest ecdysis cycle by producing a healthy and complete shed. This week, as expected, TC was active and alert. He was also hungry and readily ate just one day after shedding. After he took a couple of more days off to rest up from shedding and then to rest up from eating, TC started to become more active. He was fully using his enclosure space and furnishings, and then started coming up to the glass sliding door, the one he knows opens and is the way I normally let him out. At the point during the week when Tau said he started choosing to come out and explore when I opened his door, I decided it was time to introduce him to something new. With his most recent shed behind him and several days having passed since his last meal, TC should have been ready for action, and so began a new adventure for him, leaving his room and traveling to the room where we have our workstation set up for weighing, exams, minor veterinary procedures, and training. I introduced TC to the scale, and he wasn't the least bit interested in staying still on it at all. Each time I placed him on the scale, he promptly left it. I wasn't concerned since this was his first time and done as simply an introduction to the area. For those of you who are wondering, yes, it is possible to train a snake to station on the scale, voluntarily remaining there for a short time, as my 2-year-old Centralian python Zelinka demonstrates here. TC obviously wasn't going to learn to station on the scale during this introduction, so my attempt to weigh him in this manner was abandoned for now, and I introduced him to one of our exercise areas. This area is a combination of live and synthetic plants, actual logs and rocks from outside, potting soil, and various synthetic substrates like astroturf and carpet. I would have to ask Garrett, but it's possible this was Tau Seti's first time touching real items from the great outdoors, such as live plants, dirt, logs, and rocks. This is one of our smaller exercise spaces that you see TC enjoying here. We have a larger exercise space shown in this picture that is 20 linear feet arranged in an L shape that TC can look forward to using in the future. Notice the way I pick TC up each time he goes too far or starts to leave the area. I simply redirect him to a safe zone. TC is free to explore and move around with as little interference from me as possible. This time outside of his enclosure not only provides him with mental stimulation, but also provides physical exercise as he moves around on various substrates and terrains. I only interrupt his adventure when he starts to leave the designated area. When doing this, I reach for his middle, or just between his middle and his neck in a slow, deliberate manner. My grip is firm but not tight, so try to think tone, not tensed muscles. When his attempts to leave the designated safe space become faster and more frequent, playtime is over. With TC having expended some energy and satisfied some of his curiosity about the new environment, I introduced him to a couple of other weighing methods. The first method is to weigh him as he is confined to a tub that we already know the empty weight of. The second method is to allow him to perch in or on a tub with the lid off. Again, we already know the weight of the tub and perch when TC is not on it, so once we have the weight including TC, all we have to do is a little math to get his weight. Tao said he weighed 148 grams when we shot this video. You'll notice that he is much more content to remain where he is now that he has the ability to anchor onto something and drape his body. It also helps that he is already very habituated to tubs, having lived in one during his initial quarantine and enjoying the tub he has inside his current living space, which acts as a place to climb, drape, swim, and explore. Having had perches in his original quarantine tub, and having numerous perches inside his current enclosure, which he frequently uses, makes this weighing option a really good one for TC. He is quite comfortable now and only starts to move away from the tub as other things begin to pique his curiosity. TC's curiosity is very welcome. It's great that he's exhibiting deliberate, slow movement toward novel items instead of being afraid. He's allowed to simply move around and explore the work table for a while because it's a place that I want him to be both familiar with and comfortable with. Following what I thought was a very successful first-time exposure to a larger world, I moved TC back into his room, a place he is familiar with being allowed to explore. I allowed him some time climbing on the stepladder, and when I noticed him slowing down and eventually stopping altogether, seemingly unsure of what to do next, I offered my arm for transport back to his enclosure. What I really liked about this interaction was that he voluntarily disengaged from the stepladder to climb onto my arm. He transferred his coil to my arm, anchoring it as we moved. It was not a tight, worried, or fearful coil. It was just strong enough to hold on. When we reached his enclosure and he noticed he was near his living space again, by choice, he disengaged from my arm and went into his enclosure. Although at first he retreated to the back corner, as if to safely think about what he'd just experienced and regroup a little bit, it wasn't long before he was back up front, tongue flicking towards the open door.